Welcome, everyone, to the Savvy Sales Lady Live. Thank you for joining me this afternoon. I know I usually do my live stream at 6, but I couldn't tonight, so I had to bump it up to this time at 4. We're going to talk about how I turned a sales team from missing goal to exceeding goal. Now, this isn't a one and done for me. I've done this many times. And matter of fact, this morning, I had a virtual training with a client on nothing but mindset, and I got great reviews on it. I'm going to be posting those on LinkedIn here soon, but mindset is part of sales success. So there's nothing more frustrating when I talk to a business owner who is telling me that their sales team is falling short of goal month after month after month. So today, I'm going to take you behind the scenes of a real sales transformation, a sales team that went from consistently missing target to absolutely nailing their goals and going over in just 90 days. You're going to hear about my strategies. And like I said, this isn't a one and done. I've done this numerous times with sales teams and salespeople. So what you're about to hear is from an actual case study in my coaching practice. And I'm not going to just tell you what I did. I'll break it down for you in the exact steps, why it works, and how you can apply them to your team or to yourself starting today. But here's a pattern I've noticed over the 11 years I have been coaching and training. And this pattern has always stumped me. Just take two salespeople who have had the exact same educational background, the exact same sales training, the exact same opportunities. One will rise to the top and the other will remain mediocre. Why? Well, we'll address that as well today. So stay with me. Okay. There, that's better. So the before picture of the company that I'm talking about, they are a mid-sized B2B service company, 70 employees. Some people consider that mid-size. Some people consider it small, depending on your industry. And they had 12 salespeople. They've grown since. Their average monthly revenue was generally 20 to 25% below target for an entire 12 months. So think about that. For 12 months, they didn't even hit target. Nobody hit target. The morale was low, very low. The sales process, well, it was inconsistent. There was absolutely no tracking going on. The follow-up was pretty inconsistent. There was no coaching and there had been no past sales training. So the owner's concern when he first came to me was, I think I might have the wrong people. Now, this is a common concern I hear from business owners, that they first think that they may have hired the wrong people. So many times, salespeople are hired into a company who have had a sales experience in another industry, but yet they're expected by the business or the company to start selling and crushing sales right away. There's a transition period that needs to happen, especially if you're coming from one industry going into another industry that you have never sold in before. I've had that experience. There is a ramp up period that you really need to give salespeople. And I always encourage that. So the first tactic is when I hear an owner say, I think I might have the wrong people, it's to do initial diagnosis of that team. So in this particular one, there was a complete lack of clarity in the sales process. Every rep kind of did their own thing. There wasn't any kind of consistency in the sales process or uniformity company-wide. There wasn't any. There was no accountability rhythm. So no set touch points with themselves, with their managers, or even with their prospects and clients. And you need that touch point, especially with a manager, because of review performance, right? Then we need to identify skill gaps in qualifying and follow up, because there was lots of money being left on the table. So there was definite skill gaps between each sales rep, and they were different skill gaps as well. And then what happens is, when there's no structure, when there's no accountability, when there's no clear sales process, when reps are struggling because they have skill gaps, mindset fatigue sets in. They feel overwhelmed up here. And the common phrase I heard from this team was, "I'm so busy, Christine. I'm just so busy." But when I tried to nail them down to what they were really busy with, they couldn't tell me because their day was completely scattered. There was no strategy, no plan for their day, no nothing. So the team was basically just showing up to get through the day. So for those that have just jumped on, I'm talking about my initial diagnosis with this team, one team that I'm talking about today. I've turned many teams around. So there was a lack of clarity on the sales process. Everybody did their own thing. There was no accountability. There was a skill gap, and they all had mindset fatigue. You know how you feel so busy here? There's all these thoughts running through your head. You're trying to keep things in your head instead of writing it down. And you become emotionally and mentally exhausted, right? And that's when overwhelm starts coming in. So, what I did was I did an audit and align their sales process. So, I conducted 2 days of side by side listening into calls and shadowing meetings. So, this is a local business. So, I was able to easily do shadowing in their meetings. Sometimes I would be on the Zoom call if they were meeting virtually with a client, but I just observed. I wasn't participating at all. Then I created one clear sales conversation flow. What I mean by that is I developed questions for them, statements, and follow ups. So, what happens too often when salespeople are talking to a prospect is they do all the talking in a statement. And I teach something much different. So if the prospect says something, you follow up with a question. All right. And if you do make a statement, you always follow up with the question after that statement. So it doesn't turn into a monologue. It turns into conversational back and forth when speaking to a prospect. And that's whether it's in cold calling, whether it's doing a demo, whether you're meeting face to face, it's in any situation. I always teach to do this. So, step 2 in the intervention plan. So, step 1 in the intervention plan was to audit and align the sales processes and give them all kinds of feedback. And then the other thing I wanted to do was eliminate low value tasks that are stealing selling time. All right. And you know what I mean. By low value tasks that are stealing selling time. Sometimes that becomes the entire day and you haven't done one sales activity. So you have to eliminate those. And this is how I did it. All right, take notes. For one day, I had them write down every activity they did. So when they started their day, they got down, they opened up their laptop, they sat down, they started going through emails. So going through emails was a task. Then they did a couple of cold calls. That's a task. Then they might have done some follow-up emails. That's a task. Then they might have spent a great deal of time on company emails that they needed to get back to team members, they needed to get back to their boss, whatever. And that they had to write that down. So they inventoried everything they did all through the day. Okay. It doesn't matter what team that I train and coach, without a doubt, across the board, I have seen this every single time that 80% of the salesperson's time is wrapped up in low value tasks that are stealing their time, and less than 20% on actual sales activities. So I help them readjust that entire day so that 80% of their day was involved in selling activities and 20% of their day in low value tasks. Just that one step alone can have a huge impact on your sales. Just that one step alone. Then I conducted a mindset reset workshop for the entire sales team. So the first team meeting was not about sales techniques. It was about mindset, because you all know in sales that it's 80% mindset and 20% skills. And if your mindset will absolutely drive whether you rise to the top or whether you stay mediocre. So I used real client success stories to ignite confidence, to show them that this does really work. And then I introduced the CEO of your territory mindset. You must see your territory as you being the CEO, not just a salesperson that has a territory. I see we have a comment. Cameron says, amazing stuff. Thank you, Cameron. I appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. So here's what I'm telling you is, when you wake up every morning, you go in to your first hour at work, you're sitting there doing a mindset reset that you're now CEO of this territory that you handle. You're not a salesperson, you're CEO. That's your business. That's your bread and butter. That's your income. Okay? Remember the scenario in the beginning where I said, you take two salespeople with the exact same training and opportunities. Why did one rise to the top and the other didn't? It's because of mindset. I've seen this over and over and over again. Okay, let's talk about accountability rhythm. What is that all about? Well, I had them every day for 10 minutes make stand-up calls for the first 4 weeks. So I had them stand up and make phone calls for the first 4 weeks, just 10 minutes, stand up for the phone calls. I had them share with me the wins and one focus for the day. That's so important that you share your wins and that you have one focus for the day. Now, your focus could be that you want to book meetings. Your focus could be that you want to book, that you want to close maybe one new deal that's in the pipeline that's ready to close. That's your focus for the day. Maybe your focus for the day is to learn a new skill, but whatever it is, do it intentionally. Just don't let your day run you. You run your day. You're in control of your day. If you don't have control of your day, other people will then have control of you. It's so important to control your day. Then what I did is I did a weekly pipeline review. So every rep presented their top 5 deals and the next step. Now, this team did not have sales meetings. I mean, it really was like the wild, wild west. They did not have sales meetings. And once I gave them a structured plan where they're having at least one sales meeting a week, where every rep is presenting their top 5 deals and the next step in that deal. Now, why is that important? Well, if you don't have someone asking you what your top 5 deals are, you're not going to have 5 top deals. I mean, it's that simple. And no one, when I first came into this business, no one could tell me what their top 5 deals are. One person could tell me one. So it told me they had an underdeveloped pipeline. They had no idea what was going on in their pipeline, even though they had a CRM. So you just can't leave sales up to chance. You have to direct your prospect every step of the way, telling them what the next step will be. Okay? You always tell the prospect what your next step is, what their next step is, because they don't know your process. Okay. Then for 2 weeks, we did a skills sprint. Now, what do I mean by that? For 2 weeks, we focused solely on objection handling. Why? Because so many times when I was role playing with them and I would throw out an objection, they didn't know what to say. So I had to teach them all of the responses for the objection. And those of you that are on, I have a really easy transition for you on objections. It doesn't matter if they say, well, I'm not really interested. Your transition is, thank you for letting me know. Well, I don't have time right now to meet. Thank you for letting me know. Well, we're already working with a vendor. Thank you for letting me know. And then you transition to a question. Okay. I'm not interested right now. Thank you for letting me know. Is there something about the proposal that doesn't work for you, or is it something else? Thank you for letting me know. That works every time to transition into a question, right? Thank you for letting me know that you're not interested. I understand completely. I hear that quite a bit. Let me ask you this. And then your whatever your product or service is, then you would turn around and ask them something that may be beneficial to them. Okay? So we did the 2 weeks focus solely on objection handling, and we went in a lot more detail on what I can do here in 30 minutes for sure. Then we did a lot of role playing that I could give them instant feedback. Then after that, the reps practiced until they could handle, listen to me, until they could handle 3 core objections under 30 seconds. That's right. It's got to be quick. You just can't hum and haw around. You've got to have answers. And then turn around, make the statement, thank you for letting me know, ask a question. Okay. So, were there breakthrough moments? Absolutely. About week 3, one rep had the biggest breakthrough. he actually exceeded goal early. It just ignited in him competition within himself. Now, I don't believe in pitting salespeople against salespeople. I think everyone should compete with their own personal best and try your best to beat your own personal best. So I had them competing with themselves, not with each other. But here's the beauty of this. When this rep proved that what I was teaching was working, it broke the belief barrier, and all the other reps were rallying around to try to do the same thing that this rep did, which was to exceed goal quickly. So they started their own competition with themselves. Then in week 5, the follow-up rate doubled because reps had a clear follow-up map. The owner just was blown away and noticed that clients were mentioning better experiences in sales conversations. So the team started to share wins without even being prompted. It was such a cultural shift inside this business that the camaraderie just really started to take off, and they all started to encourage each other. And that's really what you want happening, right? So, what were the results? So, before, they weren't even hitting goals. They were maybe hitting 75% of their target monthly. Weren't even hitting the goal. And believe me, I looked at the goals and I told the owner he needs to increase the goals. I thought he was being very generous. And at the time, there weren't any reps that were hitting goals, let alone above goal. So after 90 days, the team hit 110% of sales goals and maintained it every month for 12 straight months. 6 out of the 8 reps consistently performed over quota. Their follow-up conversion rate increased 38%. So the owner stopped fearing he hired the wrong people, and he started investing in further training. So here's what I want to show you. Here's what I want to show you. The truth is, most sales teams aren't broken because they have the wrong people. They're broken because they don't have a clear, repeatable process, a consistent accountability, skills built through practice, not theory, and a mindset that treats sales like a profession, not a job. Now, I am very big at scheduling your day from the time you get to the office until you leave the office. Every hour should be accountable to 80% of your day is in sales activities, 20% is all on the low key tasks that aren't going to bring you sales, but take up a lot of your time if you let it. Remember, you control your day. So whether you're a sales team of 1 or 200, you can start these steps today. Audit your audit your process, reset your mindset, and put accountability in place by scheduling your day. Now, if you want my help implementing this kind of transformation in your own business, I offer personalized sales coaching programs. You can book a consultation with me. I'll put the link below in the description area of the video because remember, a sales team without a system will always underperform. A salesperson without a system will always underperform. And your system has to include mindset. But with the right strategy, you can go from struggling to soaring faster than you can think. And I've seen it happen over and over again with sales teams I've coached and sales professionals that I've coached in one-on-one sessions. It can happen and it can happen for you. So thank you for watching and I appreciate you being here. And remember, stay savvy. Bye-bye.